Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm your meteorologist, Mr. G, a student at Mississippi State University, majoring in meteorology and geoscience, and I have a weather forecast for you guys. We're going to be doing our daytime weather forecast now. We can go back to giving you the daily weather. So let's jump into our forecast right now. Our city of the day is Seattle, Washington. And as you know, with the atmospheric river is back into play, as that has been well advertised on this channel, that we're going to see a series of Pacific storms hitting the Pacific Northwest and into British Columbia, Canada. We're looking at downtown Seattle right now. The Space Needle is way over there off the camera, but that's not in this picture. But this is downtown Seattle. You can see the wet streets. You can see the spots on the camera. It is raining in Seattle right now, yes, as we have another storm working across the Pacific Northwest, where we're going to see at least 2 to 3 storms move through into the early part of the week. And we're dealing with one today. We'll get a break in the forecast starting tomorrow and into Wednesday and Thursday before another storm moves in late Thursday and into Friday. So we are dealing with that series of storms with our atmospheric river right now, as we're dealing with that rainfall across the Pacific Northwest. Let's move into the forecast for the rest of the lower 48 as we tell you what to expect at the beginning of your work week and through this week ahead. So join us on the maps portion here as we talk about what is coming for the forecast for where you live. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the forecast for the rest of the lower 48, and we're still going to touch on that rainfall across the Pacific Northwest. Our first map, we're going to be taking a look at our daily temperature records that could be broken this week down across the south. So from Texas over to the southeast and into the mid-south, we're going to see pretty warm weather where you can see some record highs possible this week, as we're going to be seeing our zonal pattern, which is that fast west to east pattern in the jet stream. So that upper level pattern will help to keep temperatures mild at the start of this week. So we won't be seeing too many temperature extremes on the cold side nor on the warm side. So that is very good news for this weather forecast. And let's move on to the next map, as we're going to see that zonal pattern will also help to keep the temperatures mild. So we can see that mild weather across the south and into the southeast. We're going to see a little bit more troughing take place, and that ridge out east is going to become slightly more amplified. So we're going to see that warmth shift a little bit further to the north and east, and that cool, cold weather out to the west is going to shift a little bit further to the south and west. So we're going to see flip-flop in the pattern, where we're going to see it warm in the east and cool in the west. So here is our temperature forecast for today. As you're going to see it very warm across the country, all the way up to even Chicago, where it could be almost 70 degrees today with a high of 69. And we're going to see cooler weather up in the far northern plains, as you can see that 53 in Minneapolis, which isn't too bad all in all. And we're going to see that 53 for New York City. So New England and the upper Midwest and the northern Great Lakes is going to be where it's going to be the coolest this week, or at least at the start of this week. But if you look at the middle of the country, 70s and 80s, so beautiful weather across the U.S., the majority of the country. We're going to see that cool and cloudy and wet weather along the immediate west coast and the Pacific Northwest. We're going to see those rain showers and those snow showers up in the mountains. So a lot of heavy rain is going to be expected across the northeast. Again, that colder weather out toward the northwest, but that beautiful warmth here to the east and the center of the nation. So the Midwest, the Central Plains, down across the south and into the northeast, we're going to start to warm up as well. Look at New York rising up to 65 by the time we get to Wednesday. Pittsburgh, we're going to see that temperature in the mid 60s, but a slight cool down for Chicago as your highs fall into the mid 50s, where you're in the upper 60s today. But by Wednesday, we're going to see it cooler air and those temperatures in the mid 50s in the far upper Midwest or the Great Lakes area, depending on what you call it. So 60 degrees in Chicago by Wednesday, but we still going to see that 80 Evansville, Indiana. So just to the south, Evansville is not that far from Chicago, and we're going to see 80 down in the Ohio Valley, those temperatures in the 70s and 80s. Those 80s across the mid-Atlantic, that 81 in Raleigh, 81 in Atlanta as well, 83 down in Jacksonville. So we're going to see that warmth across the south, the mid-south, and parts of the Ohio Valley. And it's going to warm up a little bit more across the northern plains and the upper Midwest as we see those temperatures get near 60 degrees, even in Minneapolis, by the time we get to Wednesday. But again, it's going to remain colder in the west with those rain showers and those snow showers in the mountains across the Pacific Northwest. So again, a pretty benign pattern as far as any severe temperature swings or severe weather or anything like that. So we're going to see that cool down that is expected later in the week, and with those temperatures returning back to near average for this time of the year for a good portion of the country, especially out west and across the central plains. We're going to see those temperatures come down a bit, and we're going to see that rainfall, and maybe even might see some rainfall as far south as Southern California as we move later into the week from one of those Pacific storms. May have a cold front that could bring some rainfall as far south as the LA basin. So keep an eye out for that. So here we are as we talk about that rain across the Pacific Northwest, and we're going to see that rain and high elevation mountain snow will continue through the midweek portion for the Northwest at least this week, and we're going to see a lot of rainfall today across the Pacific Northwest, Seattle and Portland. So the western facing side of the Cascade Mountain Range is where we're going to see that heavier rainfall, lighter rainfall amounts across the interior of Oregon and Washington, and then into the mountains as well of Idaho and Montana. We're going to see a little bit less rainfall and some snow in the higher elevation of the mountains there as well, but much more rain on the western slopes of the Cascade Mountain Range and down into the valleys and along the coastal sections of the Pacific Northwest. And then as we move through tomorrow, we're going to get a little bit of a break in the rain. We're going to see more showery conditions, more on and off again rainfall along the coastal sections here, the western slopes of the Cascade. A little bit more, a few snow showers across the higher elevations into Idaho, as well as into Montana and down through Wyoming and Utah as well. Some snow showers across the Wasatch and the higher elevation, the higher mountain peaks up above 8,000 or 9,000 feet. We can see some snow showers, but still warm across the coastal sections here, and we're going to see mostly rain in the Cascade Mountain Range, but we'll see that snow over the further in eastern interior mountain ranges of the Rockies. Is going to see cold enough area for snow. Wednesday, a fairly dry day across the Pacific Northwest. Seattle, we can see a rain shower or a sprinkle here during the day. We have our next storm system poised to come on shore. We're going to see some showers out ahead of that storm system, but that main area of rainfall will still be well offshore by the time on your Wednesday, and just showery and snow showers for the most part across the Rockies and into the Pacific Northwest. But by the time we get to Friday, here is the next storm system coming in late Thursday and into Friday as we see more heavy rain. And this one could later in the weekend spread rainfall down into southern California as we have this front that's going to extend way out here across the Pacific. And that might actually bring a little bit of rain as far south as the LA area. So we're going to keep an eye on that for the weekend. Here is our next storm that's going to affect the Pacific Northwest with a lot of rainfall as we have that atmospheric river, and we also call it the Pineapple Express. And we see that moisture coming from the central Pacific, definitely enhanced by the developing or our strengthening El Nino across the southern Pacific or the central or eastern Pacific right now. We're dealing with that El Nino. So here is that atmospheric river, that moisture coming across the Pacific and into the Pacific Northwest and British Columbia. More heavy rain for the first half of this week at least. So through Tuesday, here's the rainfall that we can see. Flash flooding possible in areas where much rainfall has hit too quickly, and that's going to be mostly in the Cascades, along the western slopes of the Cascades, where we can see that flash flooding, where we have seen 2 to 3 inches of rainfall. Some areas have picked up as much as 4 to 5 inches over the last several days. So you can see how light the rainfall amounts are across the interior portions. So Boise, Idaho, and Missoula, Montana, you can see that the rainfall amounts are much lighter, 3 to 5 inches of snow there across the Grand Tetons. But if you look at the west coast here, Portland and Seattle, you can see today about an inch of rain is expected, and 1 to 2 inches is possible down in Portland. But look at this, in Northern California, Crescent City, 2 to 3 inches of rain is in your forecast for today through Tuesday. So that's a lot of rainfall for today through Tuesday across the Northern California. That's extreme Northern California, but we're going to see that rain begin to spread further down toward the south. Hey, the heaviest rainfall will take place again along the coast. 2 to 3 inches of rain from Puget Sound all the way down into Northern California. We're going to see those heavy rainfall amounts from today through Tuesday, 2 to 3 inches of rain. So thunderstorms will be in the forecast later this week across the Midwest. So the central and southern plains, the Ozarks, and through parts of the Appalachian Mountain Range into Tennessee and Kentucky. We're going to see thunderstorms move into the picture for Thursday afternoon and evening. And we're going to see that cold front that's moving out of the west sweep into the Midwest and into the east. And we're going to see those showers and storms lift a little bit to the north into the mid-Atlantic as we head into your Friday morning. Showers and thunderstorms will move into North Carolina and Virginia, West Virginia, Kentucky, Tennessee, back through Arkansas and Mississippi, Louisiana, and southeastern Texas through Houston and Beaumont. We can see some heavy thunderstorms, some isolated severe weather. Now, mind you, we haven't seen severe weather across the country over the last 7 to 8 days. We haven't had much in the way of severe weather, but finally we might see a little bit, not a lot, but a little bit of severe weather with some of these thunderstorms that's going to be sweeping through the Midwest and the Southeast later this week. That is your weather forecast. My name is Mr. G. Join me again tomorrow morning or in the midday so when we have another video for you guys to talk about your Tuesday forecast. Have a great day and thank you for joining me. Remember to leave your likes and comments to TikTok and YouTube and subscribe to the channel. Bye-bye.